when I talk to the doctors, I say this is the most important thing that you're not equipped to work with as a physician, the subconscious mind, but you're focusing all on the chemical. That's the least important.
There's something that you actually don't mention in your book. 4 reasons why smokers relapse.
Yeah, so I put in the book, Break the Chains of Smoking.
So this is exclusive right here.
Yeah, okay, so I put in the book most of what I know and what I've learned for over 12 years of working with clients to quit smoking. But one thing, not out of any intention, but just one of the things that I did not put in the book, but I'll reveal here, are the 4 reasons why smokers relapse. And this occurred to me actually after I wrote it, because years ago when I've spoken to hospitals and given lectures, lunch and learns, and talked to physician groups to teach them about alternative ways to help people quit smoking, this was one of those things that really surprised the doctors and the nurses. And it's because the thing that they focus the most on is the least important. So real quickly, and then I'll briefly explain each one. There are 4 reasons why people relapse: chemical, emotional, environmental, and identity. Now, you can look at it in order of time. It takes about 72 hours for all the nicotine to be eliminated from your body. Mm-hmm. It takes about 2 hours to eliminate 50%.
No matter how long you've been smoking or how many you've been smoking.
Exactly.
It's 72 hours.
Exactly. Every 2 hours, the amount gets cut in half. So most of it's gone within a day or 2, but all of it's gone within 3 days. The most immediate challenge is clearing the nicotine from the body. So the chemical aspect, and this is why the majority of people who try to quit on their own fail within the first 3 days. It doesn't mean it's only the chemical part, but that's the most immediate impact. After 3 days, it's not a chemical issue anymore. It could be one of the remaining 3. Emotional, that's the next one. Now, we know that smoking is an emotionally compulsive habit, and so there's a significant emotional component to it. In other words, stress. When someone has a belief that they need to smoke, and most smokers have this, to be okay, and then you take away the cigarettes, then suddenly their stress level goes up. Mm-hmm. Now that can happen on day 1. It usually does. But after day 3, it can't be chemical. So usually what causes people to fall off the wagon is emotional. It could be normal everyday stress. The boss, the traffic, they got had a bad phone call with their boyfriend or girlfriend. And that stress level goes up. Their brain says, smoking's always helped. Mm-hmm. And then they reach for a cigarette. Now, it varies from person to person, but usually after a couple of months, and maybe even several weeks, the normal everyday stressors have been dealt with. And if the person has managed to steer clear of cigarettes during that time, then they're probably fine with the emotional part. Then there's the environmental. And we all know that someone who smokes a lot and frequently has created associations between environments, emotions, behaviors. They smoke in the car, they smoke with the coffee, they smoke at the bar, they smoke after lunch, they smoke before bed, they smoke upon rising. So suddenly, if you're not smoking and you are presented with all of these, visual cues and environmental or emotional cues, your brain is saying, I used to smoke here, I need to smoke. And that becomes overwhelming for a lot of people. And then they a lot of the time they cave in.
Give in, yeah.
But for most people, after a couple months, they have retrained themselves in their home, in their workplace, and on the road, so that emotions, except for the most extreme cases like, a death in the family, bankruptcy, divorce, something, other than the most severe things, the emotional everyday stuff has been dealt with, the chemical is long gone, and the environment has been cleansed of the reminder to smoke. Then the only remaining factor, which can last indefinitely, is identity. As I mentioned separately in another video, is that if you believe you're a smoker and you've identified with that, just like I'm a human, I'm an American, I'm a smoker, I'm a man. If you identify with that, you're going to start smoking again. And I had a client who I referenced elsewhere in the book. She came to me at, I think, 70-something years old. She smoked from age 16 to 34 or 30 years old, somewhere like that. And then she quit. Somehow, for 4 years. But she admitted to me that, she always still felt like a smoker. She thought about it a lot. She identified herself as a smoker, but she wasn't smoking. One day she had a couple of drinks celebrating, I think, her birthday with some friends. They offered her a cigarette because a lot of people back then smoked. And she started up again, and then for another 40 years was smoking a pack a day. Talk about regret and shame, right? And guilt. But it's because her identity hadn't changed. And that's why identity work is so important. If you believe you're a smoker, then eventually you're going to go back to smoking. If you believe at your core you're a non-smoker and that's your identity, then if you've quit, you'll stay quit. Mm-hmm. And if you change your identity and you're still smoking, you're going to quit because non-smokers just don't smoke. Mm-hmm. So, one of the reasons I also want to mention that when they have shown in research that pharmaceuticals are somewhat effective, and as we explain elsewhere, minimally in reality, but they are better than nothing, it's usually because the person's taking them for 3 to 6 months, which is the typical recommendation. Now, during that time, the chemicals have been cleansed out, the environment associations have been neutralized, and they've gone through everyday stress, which means it's almost like the pharmaceuticals work in spite of themselves. But the person is doing something that's making it a little easier, and then once they're done, 3 to 6 months after their last cigarette, the 3 out of the 4 reasons are already gone. That's the real reason why those things work, if at all. So the identity is the most important. When I talk to the doctors, I say this is the most important thing that you're not equipped to work with as a physician, the subconscious mind, but you're focusing all on the chemical. That's the least important. The most important is the identity, and that's the realm of the hypnotist. That's what we do.